Welcome back to the Ed Show. I'm Lawrence O'Donnell. The Republican Party is still up in arms about health care reform. South Carolina Senator Jim Demint warning the new health care bill will require hiring 16,000 new IRS agents. Demint told Politico there are going to be tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands before this is all over. We are going to be looking for the real truth of what this means, just on something as simple as having 16,000 IRS agents chasing them around. That is going to open a lot of eyes. The truth is, there is no authorization to hire any new IRS agents in the bill. Demint says we're going to hire 16,000 additional agents. That is exactly how many IRS agents we have right now. So Demint is thinking that adding one small tax credit to the tax code will require us to double the number of IRS agents to enforce that provision. He says we may have to hire, quote, hundreds of thousands before this is all over. There are currently 93,337 people working at the IRS, including janitors, everybody working there. Only 16,000 are enforcement agents. Demint thinks we may need to triple the entire IRS workforce to deal with this one tiny tax credit. In 2002, a Republican president signed into law a health insurance tax credit for workers who lose their jobs to international trade. The IRS actually set up a separate unit to administer that new provision. There are exactly 10 people working in that unit on the health insurance tax credit. And all of them were employed by the IRS before the tax credit became law. In 2008, the last year that the Bush administration controlled the IRS, they hired over 10,000 seasonal employees to help chase you down and force you to pay your taxes. And not a single Republican, including Jim Demint, objected to hiring one of those 10,000 extra IRS workers. Now, what is actually in the bill and why they won't have to hire a single IRS agent to enforce it? As you know, the individual mandate in the bill contains a tax penalty for anyone who does not purchase health insurance. Let me now read to you from the bill how that penalty is enforced. 1. In general, the penalty provided by this section shall be paid upon notice and demand by the Secretary, and except as provided in paragraph 2, shall be assessed and collected in the same manner as an assessable penalty under subchapter B of Chapter 68. 2. Special rules, notwithstanding any other provision of law. A waiver of criminal penalties in the case of any failure by a taxpayer to timely pay any penalty imposed by this section. Such taxpayer shall not be subject to any criminal prosecution or penalty with respect to such failure. B. Limitations on liens and levies. The Secretary shall not file notice of lien with respect to any property of a taxpayer by reason of any failure to pay the penalty imposed by this section, or levy on any such property with respect to such failure. What that beautiful legislative language means is something we don't see anywhere else in the tax code. It is that the penalty for not paying the tax penalty is nothing. So the trick question becomes, how many IRS agents do you need to enforce an unenforceable provision of the tax code? And the answer is obviously none. What this also means is that there isn't a real individual mandate in this bill, because there isn't a real penalty for violating an individual mandate. The Democrats had stronger penalties written into earlier versions of the bills in committees, but under increasing political pressure, they kept softening those penalties all the way down to the point where they are now non-existent. The Democrats are never going to come out and tell you this because they really do want you to buy health insurance. They want you to think there really is an individual mandate. But the truth of it is, nothing in law is ever going to really force you to buy health insurance. And the Republicans are never going to tell you this because they really like scaring you.